Imagine a place where the trees grow taller than skyscrapers, reaching desperately for a sun they can barely see. Imagine a landscape where the air itself is so thick, so heavy with moisture, that you can physically feel the weight of it in your lungs with every single breath. Where unseen wildlife moves silently through dense emerald shadows, perfectly adapted to a world that remains largely untouched by human hands. When we hear the word jungle, our minds almost immediately travel south to the equator. We instinctively imagine the vast, impenetrable expanse of the Amazon basin, the deep, echoing river valleys of the Congo, or the sweltering, monsoon-soaked forests of Southeast Asia. We think of places that feel entirely removed from the modern, industrialized world. But what if I told you that you don't have to cross an ocean to find these untamed environments? What if I told you that the United States harbors its own wild, unforgiving versions of these primeval forests? From the humid, predator-filled swamps of the Deep South to the freezing, ancient rainforests clinging to the northern coastlines. Today on GlobeWise, we are going to explore the hidden, wild, and breathtaking natural anomalies of the United States. This is not just a journey across different landscapes. This is a deep dive into the raw, unbridled power of natural geography. We will uncover how specific combinations of topography, weather, and time have forged environments that rival any equatorial jungle on Earth. Before we embark on this journey across the continent, we must first understand something deeply important about the geography of life on Earth. A jungle is not simply a forest. To a geographer, a forest is a very broad, general term. A forest can be open, dry, and easily navigated. But a jungle implies a specific type of biological chaos. It is a word that describes an ecosystem pushed to its absolute limits of growth. Scientifically speaking, a true jungle is defined by an extreme, almost overwhelming density of vegetation. It is a place where the earth is entirely choked by life. It requires high, relentless rainfall, often distributed throughout the entire year, giving the flora a constant, uninterrupted supply of water. It demands warm temperatures that accelerate the processes of both biological decay and explosive growth. And above all, a jungle features a thick, almost impenetrable undergrowth. In a standard forest, you can walk between the trees. In a jungle, you must fight for every step. The plants here do not just grow quietly, they go to war with one another in a brutal, slow-motion battle for sunlight, strangling their competitors with thick vines and enormous, broad leaves. Now, looking at a map of the mainland United States, you will quickly notice that it does not possess the exact equatorial, tropical jungles found in the Amazon basin. The latitude simply does not allow for it. However, geography is full of surprises. What this country does have are extreme geographical anomalies. It possesses temperate rainforests, sprawling subtropical swamps, and hyper-dense ecosystems that perfectly replicate the exact conditions and the exact terrifying feeling of a jungle environment. These American jungles are places of profound, staggering biodiversity. They are localized pockets where the rules of the surrounding landscape simply do not apply. And as we are about to discover as we travel from the deep south to the far north, some of these hidden ecosystems are far more dangerous, far more complex, and far more mysterious than you could ever imagine.
Our expedition begins in the deep southeast, at the very tip of the Florida Peninsula. We are entering one of the most unique, complex, and misunderstood geographical regions on the face of the Earth. Welcome to the Everglades. For centuries, early European explorers looked at this vast flooded landscape and saw nothing but a stagnant, treacherous swamp, a wasteland of mud and mosquitoes to be avoided at all costs. But the Everglades is not a traditional swamp at all. It is a hydrological marvel, often referred to by ecologists as a river of grass. It is, in fact, a massive, incredibly shallow, slow-moving sheet of fresh water. Originating from the Kissimmee River and Lake Okeechobee, this sheet of water is often miles wide, but only inches deep, creeping silently and relentlessly southward over a massive limestone shelf until it finally meets the saltwater of the Gulf of Mexico. But do not let that poetic name fool you into a false sense of security. This river of grass is incredibly beautiful, but it is also heavily armed and deeply unforgiving. The environment here feels exactly like a jungle. The air is sweltering, routinely trapped in a suffocating 90% humidity that drains the energy from your body. The undergrowth is a tangled, hostile maze of dense mangrove roots and razor-sharp sawgrass. These are not soft reeds. Sawgrass blades are lined with microscopic silica-hardened teeth that can effortlessly slice through thick clothing and exposed skin. Navigation through this terrain is nearly impossible without specialized knowledge. The density of life hidden within this flooded jungle is staggering. The Everglades is an absolute haven for rare, highly adapted species that have evolved to thrive in this specific geographical niche. It is, of course, the undisputed kingdom of the American alligator, an apex predator perfectly designed for the shallow, murky waters. But in a fascinating geographical twist, this extreme southern tip of Florida is the only place on the entire planet where freshwater American alligators and saltwater American crocodiles overlap and coexist in the exact same ecosystem. Yet this primal, ancient jungle is currently fighting a modern, devastating war. Invasive species, most notably the Burmese python, have established a terrifying stronghold in these dense wetlands. Introduced by humans, these massive constrictors are wiping out the native mammal populations at an alarming rate. The pythons thrive here precisely because the geography and climate of the Everglades so perfectly mimic the brutal, humid jungles of Southeast Asia where they originated. But the apex predators are not the greatest threat to this American jungle. This incredibly fragile ecosystem is currently fighting for its very survival against human interference. Agricultural pollution from the north chokes the water with unnatural nutrients, altering the plant life. Aggressive urban development drains the vital fresh water, shrinking the boundaries of the wild. And perhaps most terrifying of all, the creeping saltwater intrusion brought on by rising sea levels threatens to poison the freshwater roots of the entire system. If the slow-moving river of grass ever stops flowing, this unique, dangerous jungle will vanish from the earth forever.
We now leave the suffocating, humid heat of the deep south and travel nearly 3,000 miles across the continent to the extreme opposite corner of the country. We are heading into the misty, shadow-filled Pacific Northwest. Here, shielded by the jagged, imposing peaks of the Olympic Mountains in Washington state, lies a place that challenges everything we think we know about what a rainforest is supposed to look like. Welcome to Olympic National Park. When you walk into this environment, you realize immediately that this is not your typical tropical jungle. There are no palm trees, no sweltering heat, and no colorful parrots in the canopy. But biologically and geographically, it is one of the closest things to a true jungle on the North American continent. This is a temperate rainforest, and specifically, we are exploring the legendary ancient depths of the Hoh rainforest. Why does this freezing northern landscape feel so incredibly much like a deep jungle? The answer, quite simply, is water. The geography here forces a phenomenon known as orographic lift. Massive moisture-heavy weather systems roll in off the Pacific Ocean and immediately crash into the towering Olympic Mountains. As the clouds are forced upward over the peaks, they cool rapidly and release their heavy burden of water. This process dumps an unbelievable 140 inches of rain onto this single valley every single year. The result is this absolute explosion of green biomass. Every single square inch of the landscape is smothered in thick, vibrant, glowing moss. The moss drips from the branches, carpets the forest floor, and swallows the rocks. The air here is cool, perpetually foggy, and completely deadened by the thick layer of vegetation. It is a quiet, ancient, almost magical environment where sounds simply do not travel. The cycle of life and death here is constant, visible, and aggressive. When massive centuries-old trees finally succumb to the elements and crash to the forest floor, they do not simply rot away. They become what ecologists call nurse logs. These massive decaying trunks act as giant nutrient-rich sponges, providing the exact elevated platform needed for hundreds of new saplings to take root and battle for space above the dark, crowded forest floor. Beneath this towering, sky-blocking canopy of massive Sitka spruce and western hemlock, a robust and complex food web thrives in the perpetual twilight. Black bears roam through the dense waist-high ferns, searching for berries and insects. Massive Roosevelt elk, moving as silently as ghosts through the heavy mist, graze on the thick undergrowth. Rare birds and amphibians find shelter in the endless layers of decaying wood. The Hoh rainforest proves a vital geographical point. Jungles do not always need to be baking under an intense tropical sun. To create a jungle, nature only requires immense amounts of water, thousands of years of uninterrupted time, and life. Lots and lots of life.
But what if you were searching for the classic cinematic vision of a jungle? A place of impossibly vibrant colors, suffocating humidity, and torrential equatorial rainfall. To find that, we must leave the mainland of North America entirely and venture thousands of miles across the deep blue water, right into the middle of the Pacific Ocean. We must travel to the isolated volcanic archipelago of Hawaii. Make no mistake, Hawaii is the closest thing to a true equatorial tropical jungle found anywhere within the United States. The unique, isolated geography of these islands creates a series of microclimates of absolute extreme intensity. Here, towering, jagged stratovolcanoes act as massive walls, trapping the moisture carried by the relentless ocean trade winds. As this wet air is forced up the steep volcanic slopes, it creates lush, impenetrable rainforests that cling desperately to the sides of the mountains. This is a landscape defined by dramatic verticality. Towering thin ribbons of water, massive waterfalls plunge hundreds of feet down sheer emerald green cliffs into deep, isolated valleys that have barely ever been explored by humans. Because these islands are so incredibly remote, separated from any other major landmass by thousands of miles of ocean, the life that found its way here evolved in total, uninterrupted isolation. The brightly colored tropical birds, the bizarre insects, the massive, vibrant flora, a staggering percentage of the life found in the Hawaiian jungles exists completely nowhere else on planet Earth. But beneath this incredible beauty, the Hawaiian jungle is uniquely violent and unstable. When we look at places like Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, we are granted a front-row seat to the raw tectonic engine of the Earth actively at work. This is an ecosystem fundamentally built on fire. Rivers of glowing orange lava constantly bubble to the surface, completely reshaping the landscape in a matter of hours. This molten rock destroys ancient established forests in an instant, burning through the thick green canopy and leaving behind a scorched black wasteland. Yet simultaneously, this very same destructive force is creating brand new land right out of the boiling ocean. As the lava cools into rock, it eventually breaks down into incredibly fertile, mineral-rich soil, creating the perfect foundation for the jungle to rise again. It is a jungle of constant, terrifying creation and destruction, driven entirely by the geological heartbeat of the planet.
Now, we are going to travel to an environment that seems completely counterintuitive to the very idea of a jungle. When we hear the word Alaska, our minds instantly conjure stark images of endless white snow, frozen tundra, brutal blizzards, and bitter, unforgiving ice. It is known globally as the last great frozen frontier of North America. But hidden along its incredibly rugged southeastern coastline is a geographical anomaly that completely shatters that frozen perception. Welcome to the awe-inspiring Tongass National Forest. Covering nearly 17 million acres across the islands and fjords of the Alexander Archipelago, the Tongass is not just a large patch of woods, it is the absolute largest national forest in the United States, and more importantly, it is the largest intact temperate rainforest remaining anywhere on the planet. Make no mistake about the temperature, this is a cold, damp, heavy jungle. How does a rainforest of this immense magnitude survive in these high freezing latitudes? The secret lies in the ocean. The warming effect of the Pacific currents collides violently with the steep coastal mountains of Alaska. This geographical collision creates an environment of massive ancient trees, constant freezing rainfall, and a staggering, overwhelming density of biomass that rivals the tropics. But the true lifeblood of the cold jungle is not just the rain, it is the salmon. Every year, the rivers of the Tongass run thick with millions upon millions of wild spawning salmon returning from the ocean to the exact streams where they were born. These fish are literal swimming batteries, carrying vital, rich ocean nutrients, specifically marine nitrogen, deep into the heart of the forest. This incredible abundance of concentrated food supports a fierce, primal hierarchy of apex predators. Massive coastal brown bears gather by the dozens at the waterfalls to feast on the fish, and bald eagles sit by the thousands in the towering pine branches, waiting for scraps. And elusive, highly intelligent packs of wolves patrol the deep snow of the forest edge, hunting deer that hide in the thick vegetation. The decaying remnants of the salmon, dragged into the woods by the bears and wolves, act as a massive fertilizer bomb, feeding the root systems of the giant trees. Even though the air is frigid and the ground is often covered in snow, the sheer, unrelenting density of the food chain makes the Tongass feel as intimidating, as complex, and as wildly untamed as any equatorial jungle on Earth.
To truly understand the profound geographical significance of these hidden jungles, we must take a moment to look at the extremes that surround them. The geography of the United States is primarily defined by its brutal, jarring contrasts. We cannot appreciate the abundance of water without understanding the absolute absence of it.
These hyper-dense ecosystems, these hidden American jungles we have traveled through today, are far more than just beautiful geographical anomalies to be admired from afar. They are the heavy lifters of our planetary biosphere. They are the lungs and the filters of the continent. The massive, ancient trees of the Tongass and the Olympic Peninsula act as colossal carbon sinks, quietly absorbing the exhaust and pollution of modern human civilization, locking it away deep in their wood and soil. The vast, slow-moving wetlands of the Everglades act as a massive natural water filter, cleaning the hydrology of the entire southern peninsula while providing a critical buffer against the devastating impact of hurricanes. These wild places regulate our global climate balance. They are the final, desperate sanctuaries for thousands of species of unique wildlife that simply cannot exist anywhere else on Earth. But they are currently standing on a terrifying knife's edge. The relentless mechanical march of industrial deforestation, the quiet, toxic poisoning of agricultural runoff seeping into the groundwater, and the escalating, unpredictable chaos of a rapidly changing global climate are tearing at the very foundations of these ancient places. These environments are incredibly resilient. They have survived ice ages, they have survived massive tectonic shifts, and they have survived volcanic eruptions. but they cannot survive human apathy. Protecting the deep swamps of the south, the misty rainforests of the north, in the wild, untamed edges of this continent is no longer just an environmental choice. It is a fundamental, urgent responsibility to ensure the future of complex life on Earth.
The United States may not lay claim to the dense equatorial basin of the Amazon. It may not hold the massive winding river networks of the Congo within its borders. But the geography of this land contains absolute multitudes. It holds quiet, slow-moving grassy swamps teeming with ancient armored predators that predate the dinosaurs. It holds towering, moss-draped, mist-filled rainforests that completely silence the noise of the modern world, offering a window into a prehistoric era. It holds volatile, violently active volcanic mountains wrapped in lush tropical green, and freezing, endless coastal forests fed by the relentless cycles of the ocean. We have learned today that true nature is not limited by human definitions or imaginary lines drawn on a map. It does not care about borders. It exists in endless, defiant, and perfectly adapted forms, shaped by millions of years of geographical pressure. And as we continue to explore the limits of